what if the time you were born was never just random? What if in the ancient world, time itself carried meaning, and your beginning was part of something larger than a date on a calendar? Long before modern systems organized life into months and numbers, ancient cultures observed the skies, the seasons, and the rhythms of existence. They believed these patterns were not accidental, they were intentional. Some believe those patterns still carry meaning today. Others say it is simply the human tendency to search for significance. So, which is it? Meaning or coincidence? Before we explore this together, take a moment to subscribe so you do not miss these deep, thought-provoking journeys through faith, history, and ancient understanding. To understand this idea, we must return to a world where time was not just counted, but experienced. In the ancient Near East, time was deeply connected to life itself. The people of Israel followed rhythms shaped by the moon, the land, and the seasons. From the very beginning, Scripture presents time as structured and purposeful. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, it says, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years." Time, therefore, was not random, it was ordered. Psalm 104, verse 19 adds, "He made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows its time for setting." Festivals marked transitions. Harvests marked provision. Rain signaled life. But this is where the story becomes more than just history. Because in Scripture, the time is not only about when things happen, but why they happen. And this is where the idea becomes difficult to ignore. If time itself carried meaning, could the moment of your birth also carry meaning? The Bible reflects a world where seasons were more than weather. They were expressions of purpose. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 says, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." This reveals a worldview in which life unfolds in patterns: planting seasons, waiting seasons, harvest seasons, moments of growth and moments of stillness. Job chapter 38, verse 32 speaks of divine order in time. Can you bring forth the constellations in their seasons? Even the heavens move according to appointed rhythms. Galatians chapter 4 and verse 4 reinforces this idea. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth His Son. This suggests that even the most significant events occur at the right time. And here is where it becomes personal. Think about the season you were born into. Was it a time of renewal, growth, transition, or preparation? In the ancient world, these seasons carried meaning, not to define a person completely, but to reflect something about beginnings. Archaeological findings show that ancient civilizations carefully tracked time. Calendars were essential to survival, guiding agriculture, worship, and daily life. In Exodus chapter 12, verse 2, God tells Israel, "This month shall be unto you the beginning of months." Time itself was being redefined and given meaning. Leviticus chapter 23 further outlines appointed times, feasts, and sacred gatherings that structured the year. These were not random dates. They were moments filled with significance. Because when we compare this to the modern world, the difference is striking. Today, birthdays are often personal celebrations. But in the ancient world, time was sacred, collective, and deeply connected to identity. And this is where a shift begins to happen. Not in what we believe, but in how we see. The Bible does not assign fixed meanings to birth months in the way modern culture sometimes does, but it does reveal something deeper. Timing matters. Psalm 139 verse 16 says, "All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." This suggests that life unfolds with awareness and intention. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Isaiah chapter 46 verse 10 adds, "I make known the end from the beginning." These passages point to a reality in which beginnings are not unseen or accidental, and this is where the question deepens. If timing mattered then, what does that say about now? Now this is where the conversation becomes even more interesting. In Scripture, time is not random. It is structured, intentional, and often symbolic. Leviticus chapter 23 outlines appointed times, showing that certain moments carry deeper meaning. Daniel chapter 2 verse 21 says, "He changes times and seasons. He deposes kings and raises up others." Time is not only measured, it is governed. Acts chapter 1. Here, verse 7 reminds us, "It is not for you to know the times or dates the Father has set by his own authority." This introduces both significance and mystery. Some believe these patterns are not only historical but prophetic. That time itself reflects deeper truths. Others approach this more cautiously, seeing symbolism rather than prediction. Yet the idea remains compelling. Not all meaning is prophetic, and this is important. Understanding the historical context helps us avoid forcing interpretations that go beyond the text. Deuteronomy chapter 29 verse 29 says, "The secret things belong to the Lord our God." This reminds us to approach these ideas with humility. Curiosity is valuable, but so is balance. And now, this is where everything shifts, because this is no longer just about ancient calendars or historical patterns. It is about you. Think about the moment you were born, not just as a date, but as a point in time, a beginning placed within a season, a moment within a rhythm. Maybe your birth was not just a date on a calendar, but a moment placed within a pattern, not to define who you are, but to remind you that your beginning exists within something larger than chance. You are not defined by a month, but you may not be as random as you think. So the real question is not simply whether your birth has a hidden meaning, but whether time itself is more meaningful than we often realize. Scripture presents time as purposeful. History shows it was treated as sacred. And archaeology confirms that ancient people lived by its rhythms. And somewhere within all of this is your story, not reduced to a formula, not confined to a label, but placed within time, meaning, or coincidence. Perhaps the answer is not something we are meant to be given, but something we are meant to explore.